Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bipolar Opposites. I am your host, Tim Cudden. I am now telling you this episode is not going to have any humor, as this is the most serious topic that there is on the planet. Suicide. Regular viewers know I like to include a bit of humor to my show, but this just does not have anything to joke around about. I am inclined to make this episode based off of the suicide of Robin Williams, a great actor known for his comedic talent and even some serious films. He choked himself to death on August 11, 2014. So, to help those who are suicidal and those who know someone who they suspect is suicidal, I present facts, warning signs, statistics, and how to help prevent suicide. I always back my videos up with information on my subjects. For my research for this episode, I went to helpguide.org and Mental Health America. A suicidal person may not ask for help, but that doesn't mean that help isn't wanted. Most people who commit suicide don't want to die. They just want to stop hurting. Suicide prevention starts with recognizing the warning signs and taking them seriously. If you think a friend or family member is considering suicide, you might be afraid to bring up the subject, but talking about suicidal thoughts and feelings can save a life. The World Health Organization estimates that approximately 1 million people die each year from suicide. To those not in the grips of suicidal depression and despair, it's difficult to understand what drives so many individuals to take their own lives. But a suicidal person is in so much pain that he or she can see no other option. Suicide is a desperate attempt to escape suffering that has become unbearable. Blinded by feelings of self-loathing, hopelessness, and isolation, a suicidal person can't see any way of finding relief except through death. But despite their desire for the pain to stop, most suicidal people are deeply conflicted about ending their own lives. They wish there was an alternative to committing suicide, but they just can't see one. Now, I would like to share some common misconceptions about suicide. People who talk about suicide won't really do it. False. Almost everyone who commits or attempts suicide has given some clue or warning. Anyone who tries to kill him or herself must be crazy. False. Most suicidal people are not psychotic or insane. If a person is determined to kill him or herself, nothing is going to stop them. False. Even the most severely depressed person has mixed feelings about death, wavering until the very last moment between wanting to live and wanting to die. People who commit suicide are unwilling to seek help. False. Studies of suicide victims have shown that more than half had sought medical help in the 6 months prior to their death. Talking about suicide may give someone the idea. False. You don't give a suicidal person morbid ideas by talking about suicide. Next, I will discuss the warning signs of suicide. I implore you to listen very carefully to this section, as it is one of the most important things I could ever share with you. Warning signs of suicide include talking about suicide. Any talk about suicide, dying, or self-harm, such as "I wish I hadn't been born," "if I see you again," and "I'd be better off dead," seeking out lethal means, seeking out guns, pills, knives, or other objects that could be used in a suicide attempt. Preoccupation with death. Unusual focus on death, dying, or violence. Writing poems or stories about death. No hope for the future, feelings of hopelessness, and being trapped. There's no way out. Belief that things will never get better or change. Self-loathing, self-hatred, feelings of worthlessness, guilt, shame, and self-hatred. Feeling like a burden. Everyone would be better off without me. Getting affairs in order. Making out a will. Giving away prized possessions. Making arrangements for family members. Saying goodbye. Unusual or unexpected visits or calls to friends and family. Saying goodbye to people as if they won't see them again. Withdrawing from others. Withdrawing from friends and family. Increasing social isolation. Desire to be left alone. Self-destructive behavior. Increased alcohol or drug use. Reckless driving. Unsafe sex. Taking unnecessary risks as if they have a death wish. Sudden sense of calm. A sudden sense of calm and happiness after being extremely depressed can mean that the person has made a decision to commit suicide. Following this, I'd like to share several suicide prevention tips. The first is, speak up if you're worried. If you spot the warning signs of suicide in someone you care about, you wonder if it's a good idea to say anything. What if you're wrong? What if the person gets angry? In such situations, it's natural to feel uncomfortable or afraid. But anyone who talks about suicide or shows other warning signs needs immediate help. The sooner, the better. Talking to a friend or family member about their suicidal thoughts and feelings can be extremely difficult for anyone. But if you're unsure whether someone is suicidal, the best way to find out is to ask. You can't make a person suicidal by showing that you care. In fact, giving a suicidal person the opportunity to express his or her feelings can provide relief from loneliness and pent-up negative feelings and may prevent a suicide attempt. Ways to start a conversation about suicide. I have been feeling concerned about you. Recently, I've noticed some differences in you and wondered how you were doing. I wanted to check in with you because you haven't seemed yourself lately. Questions you can ask. When did you begin feeling like this? Did something happen that made you start feeling this way? How can I best support you right now? Have you thought about getting help? What you can say that helps. You are not alone in this. I'm here for you. You may not believe it now, but the way you're feeling will change. I may not be able to understand exactly how you feel, but I care about you and want to help. When you want to give up, tell yourself you will hold off for just one more day, hour, minute, whatever you can imagine. Tactics for talking to a suicidal person, do's and don'ts. Be yourself. Let the person know you care, that he or she is not alone. The right words are often important. If you are concerned, your voice and manner will show it. Listen. Let the suicidal person unload despair, ventilate anger. No matter how negative the conversation seems, the fact that it exists is a positive sign. Be sympathetic, non-judgmental, patient, calm, accepting. Your friend or family member is doing the right thing by talking about his or her feelings. Offer hope. Reassure the person that help is available and that the suicidal feelings are temporary. Let the person know that his or her life is important to you. If the person says things like, I'm so depressed I can't go on, ask the question, are you having thoughts of suicide? You are not putting ideas in their head. You are showing that you are concerned, that you take them seriously, and that it's okay for them to share their pain with you. Don't argue with the suicidal person. Avoid saying things like, you have so much to live for, your suicide will hurt your family, or look on the bright side. Don't act shocked, lecture on the value of life, or say that suicide is wrong. Don't promise confidentiality. Refuse to be sworn to secrecy. A life is at stake, and you may need to speak to a mental health professional in order to keep the suicidal person safe. If you promise to keep your discussion secret, you may have to break your word. Don't offer ways to fix their problems, or give advice, or make them feel like they have to justify their suicidal feelings. It is not about how bad the problem is, it's how badly turning your friend or loved one. Don't blame yourself. You can't fix someone's depression. Your loved one's happiness or lack thereof is not your responsibility.